Hey, I'm the composer Andrew Lloyd Fry, and this is an introduction to the life and music of Steve Reich. So we'll talk a little bit about his life, his music, and some thoughts on how to listen, and some of my favorite works of his. So he, as a kid, played the drums. So obviously that's pretty unexpected for a classical composer. And that's something where it's like, obviously that is going to continue to impact his music throughout his life. So rhythm being this kind of like foundational music experience for him. So he got his degree at Mills College, and his earliest pieces are actually a bit more experimental with tape. So he would record these sound snippets, and kind of by accident one day they got out of phase with each other, where one tape was running slightly faster than the other one, and he thought that was really interesting. So he started doing pieces. To me, I would almost think of them as like sound installations, but they're considered pieces, where he would record these things, and the piece is them being out of phase, and the speed. It's like two tapes are playing the same thing, and one is slightly faster, and the speed's pulling away. So he did that for a while, kind of this electronic, experimental, a little bit more like performance art-y kind of stuff. And that transitioned to doing that same idea with actual instruments. So early on, he did a piece called Piano Phase, where it's like this piano, I guess you call it like a fragment. So it's not like super long, and you have two pianos playing the exact same thing, and then one slowly pulls ahead in time. So it's like a canon, but it's like this process of getting to that state of canon instead of just like jumping there. So those early pieces I feel like are very important and very historic. For me personally, they're not things that I listen to, or not what I'm going to recommend. So the first album that I'm going to talk about, this is a box set that Distributes Gramophone put out, but this has drumming and music for Mallet Instruments, voices, and organ. And those are two albums that I recommend for starting points. So with drumming, I feel like that's his first great work. So it's for bongos, marimba, and glockenspiel. And his earlier works are a little dry for me, and this is the first one where it feels like his expression expanded a little bit. So it's in 4 sections, and interestingly, the whole piece, it's a pretty long piece, is mostly based off of one rhythm. So again, rhythm being a huge part of his expression. And he gets a lot of variety by using that phase technique, where like whether it's 2 bongos, they're doing the same rhythm, and then one slightly pulls ahead. So you have this really weird transition where it's kind of like the music gets pretty, like kind of like chaotic, like things are falling apart, and then it like clicks back in place, but now the rhythmic relationships are different. Drumming has a little bit more of a sense of drama to it, and the 4 sections, it's like just the drums, just the marimbas, just the glockenspiel, and then part 4 is kind of the big part where they're all together. So then after that, he went on to music for Mallet Instruments, organ, and voices. And at this point, he had kind of felt like he had exhausted the phase idea. But what he kept was the canon. So canons being like a huge part of what he did. Another big element that came into the music at this point is this idea called beats for rest, where you have a melody and you get rid of, it's like you've built it, but you get rid of all the notes except for one, and you just have that one note come in, and you might do that like 3 or 5 times, and then it moves on, and it's like 2 notes of the melody. So it's like you've constructed the whole thing, but you get rid of it all, and it's like this process of melodic accumulation that became like a really big part of his expression and the way he organized music. The first time he was really using that was the music for Mallet Instruments. And then the last piece, this is his most famous piece, one of my favorite pieces of music of all time, Music for 18 Musicians. So this one, again, just the expansion of kind of like compositional techniques. Obviously the instruments he had is very unique on this album. So I think it's like 4 pianos, 4 marimbas, vibraphone, 2 clarinets, cello, violin, voices. Did I get everything? I think that's it. So this piece is built in 11 sections, and every section is 1 chord. So it stays on that chord. Often the pianos and the marimbas are just like doing 16th notes or 8th notes, just like kind of pounding the chord away. And often those sections have this sense of kind of being assembled in front of the listener. So it's kind of like things accumulate and build, kind of this like construction kind of thing, and then they deconstruct, and then the section moves on. The last thing I wanted to say about Steve Reich is I think it's helpful to approach his music with maybe a certain expectation or certain kind of ears. So in classical music, you're listening primarily for rich harmonies and beautiful melodies, and I think if you go to his music with those expectations, you're not going to like it. So he often is using stagnant harmony. So there's, it's just kind of pounding away. There's really not much there. And he's using short melodic phrases. So I think if you go with those ears, you'll probably be bored and disappointed. And I think the things to enjoy and focus on and listen to in his music is, number one, timbre. So the combination of instruments he uses is always very unique. And he just makes these like beds of sound where, for me, it's just like, this doesn't have to change. This doesn't have to go anywhere. This is just such a unique sound. So especially Music for 18 Musicians, just the combination is very interesting. The second thing is the way he uses rhythm is one of maybe the main organizational principle. So it's a little bit turning the classical music values on its head, and the way the rhythms interact, I think, is kind of the main driving force behind a lot of what he does. And then the last thing is he uses a lot of I don't exactly know how to describe it, but it's this idea of almost the listener being a part or getting to hear the process of the piece being built. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's often the way things are interacting and building up and accumulating is very logical and very, maybe transparent is the word. So like you're hearing the melody almost like make itself in this really unique way that I think makes his music very interesting. All right, time for you to start listening.